Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to today's Business Spotlight. I'm your host today, Todd Rodden. I'm a certified business and executive coach. I own Aspire Action Coach based here in the sunny Dayton, Ohio area. So we're thrilled to have you join us today as we introduce you to Dr. Stephen Crane, who's the founder and CEO of Veteran Roadmap. I think you're going to find this unbelievably inspirational, the services he provides through his nonprofit supporting veterans across the U.S. So for those viewers here, we're thrilled to have you. We always encourage you to check out other videos in our series, but always hit that like and subscribe button so you'll receive future messages from inspiring leaders like Stephen here in the future. So with that, Dr. Stephen Crane, and we're thrilled to have you here. Take a minute, kind of introduce yourself, tell us a little bit around Veteran Roadmap. I think really explain the benefits that you provide to veterans there. I think it's eye-opening to folks. And then how did you get started?
Absolutely. No, I appreciate having me and taking the time to do this. So, Veteran Roadmap is really the brainchild of my own journey. I call it the Veteran Roadmap because it's the roadmap I personally took from being homeless in 2017 to retiring myself, my wife, building our dream home 5 years later. How in the heck can someone do that? That's the Veteran Roadmap. So 2017, got out of the Marine Corps completely unexpectedly, have no idea what to do, where to go, scraped and clawed my way back to civilization. 2020, so 3 years later, after fighting tooth and nail, trying to make ends meet, bouncing from couches, trying whatever I can to survive, I finally got my benefits. I finally found myself in a good position to where I could now focus on the next step, which is okay, now I have nothing. Right? Now I have benefits coming in. Now I can actually take care of myself, but I'm starting from scratch. So what's the next step look like? And unbeknownst to me, I was building the roadmap in the background. I was going through all these different companies. I was building my own roadmap that ultimately came out to be the nonprofit that we see today. And so that's really the journey that I took from 2017, being on the street, homeless, no idea what to do, to 5 years later, 2021, moving into our house, retiring myself, my wife, having a great life, and being able to finally give back and make sure that this doesn't happen to anyone else. Because there's no reason in 2024, with all the resources that we have available to us, that any veteran should ever have to experience that ever.
Wow. So folks, I hope folks got that message. So went from homeless to retired in 5 years and now focuses his life on helping other veterans meet their retirement dreams and goals as well. So a lot to unpack in that 5 years, but so what were the key couple things that happened during that 5 years that really got you to that path, right? And then you can get into kind of some of the unique elements of what Veteran Roadmap provides to veterans.
So it's funny because in 2017, when I found myself in that situation of having absolutely nothing, and the degree that I went for was criminal justice, and I wasn't even allowed to go to FLETC because of all these medical issues, TBIs, PTSD, broken foot, torn patella, all these different things wrong with me. I couldn't even go into law enforcement. So I had a degree that was basically worthless. I had a military career that, in my eyes, wasn't really that worth anything other than, I checked the box, I'm a veteran because it was all in that field. So I'm literally starting from nothing. I got my first gig towards the beginning of 2018-ish. I got my first gig and it wasn't a full job by any means. It was through a temp agency. It was just something that I finally felt like, okay, I got my foot underneath of me. And that was the first rude awakening that I had. Prior to that, I was cleaning bathrooms. I mean, I was doing anything I could to make a buck. But finally, I found something, and it was like a 6 month contract gig, and it was, in a big boy position. I was a Lean Six Sigma Master Black Belt, and I was offered the position to come in and to help clean up some processes inside an organization. I did that, and that's when I first learned corporate America is like the military. They treat you like a number, and they can dispose of you at any time that they want. So it was a 6-month contract because that's what the time allotted kind of was for the process. I got it done in less than 90 days. I'm good at what I do. So I thought, oh, that means bonus. That means job. That means something. No, that means the company saved 3 months of expenses. Best of luck, buddy. So here I was again, ground zero. And I think, and I give tons of credit to this guy, Matt Collins. He picked me up. He was a Marine as well. He picked me up and he said, "Listen, now that you've had your experience in corporate America and you realize that a 9 to 5 isn't made for everybody, maybe you should try entrepreneurship." I said, I don't know about that. That's unstable. There's no security. I don't know about what to do." And he said, "Get your real estate license, come work with me. If nothing else, you'll learn what entrepreneurship is." And so I took him up on his offer. That year, I made $1,200.
Okay.
The entire year of 2018, I made $1,200. And that was the best $1,200 I made because those dollars that I made from selling my one house taught me so much. The introductions, the referrals, the coaching, the mentorship, the guidance that I got my brain on the right path, and it showed me the opportunities that were ahead of me. So I really attribute truly all my success to having someone pull me aside and say, "Hey, slap, slap, right? You need to wake up and you need to realize entrepreneurship is a good path. And here's how you do it." So really that's where it all began for me.
So then how did you get your nonprofit then started? How'd you get that off the ground? I mean, that's not a simple activity either, right?
Kind of through accident a little bit. So in that process, as soon as I got a taste of the entrepreneurial bug, I'm like, I need to go do something. I don't know what, but I need to go do something. So I dabbled around with a bunch of different things, but it wasn't until 2020 that I got my benefits and I really understood entrepreneurship. I mean, I've been doing it at that point for almost 3 years now, and I really understood what works, what doesn't work, what's marketing, what's your USP. Like I understood the lingo, and I just graduated with my MBA too and everything, so I knew what I was going to do. I just didn't know where to go. And so when I got my benefits, I recognized that was a massive issue. And as entrepreneurs, we see issues, we pose solutions, perfect blend. Now we go out and market and we find our customer. Well, my customer was simple because it was veterans. It was me who didn't understand their benefits, who didn't understand the disability process, who didn't understand anything that we're entitled to. I struggled for 3 years. I was the perfect target. Once I finally got my benefits, I realized, oh my God, this is life changing. 3 months later, I immediately started my company. And from there, we just continuously solve the next issue. We always solve for X. And for the first part of it, the X was what are the disability benefits you're entitled to? Then that led to now that you have your benefits, what are you going to do with your benefits? Enter the next company. Then once you have your benefits and now that you're utilizing them, what are you going to do with your life? That was the next company. Then it was the next company and next company. And it wasn't actually until last year that the nonprofit finally came to fruition, and I didn't even realize it. This is the creepiest like chills that I get. 2020, I started Veteran Roadmap. That was the initial company name, but I knew I wanted it to be something big, but I didn't know and I didn't have all the steps. I didn't have all the pieces of the railroad laid out. I just had this grand vision of what I wanted to accomplish. So I created the company. I created the logo. I trademarked. I did everything back then, including this term called civilian fire teams, which is registered trademark of mine. I did all that stuff back in 2020. It wasn't until the end of 2023 that it finally came together, and I was like, oh my God, this is everything that I've been working towards. I just didn't even know that it was going to be a nonprofit, and I was going to have all these veterans and all these companies and even government grants sponsor the entire roadmap for these veterans. So it was an accident, but it was a little bit of some crazy visionary work early on, for sure.
All right. So you got the vision, you got the passion, you got a lot of know-how that you've built, the knowledge you've built over time. So then how do you go about, growing this, building the awareness, in many regards, this would be, your focus from a marketing standpoint, so you can expand your reach and impact more veterans for the good.
It just boiled down to what is the market missing right now? And the market is saturated with nonprofits that help veterans. There are a dime a dozen out there. And don't get me wrong, there are some great nonprofits. And just like we were talking about earlier, there are some not so good coaches in the world as well, right? You got to be qualified, you got to know what you're doing, and you've got to kind of have a reputation for helping other people and being successful at that. So there are some good nonprofits and there's some really bad nonprofits. Good coaches, really bad coaches. So I looked at it and was like, well, what is missing? If you need a resume, thousands of nonprofits provide resumes. You need a job, thousands of nonprofits offer jobs. And so I looked and I kept thinking, why isn't there a conveyor belt? Why isn't the resume talking to the recruiter? Why isn't the recruiter talking to the company? Why isn't the company talking to the EAP program?
Yeah.
Why isn't the EAP program talking to the financial planner? Like,
Yeah.
why is none of this connected? It's just, hey, you come in, wing, bang, boom, here's your resume, best of luck. That's not a system. As a coach, that's not a system. That's a one and done, and there's no lifetime value of a customer. There's nothing that you can actually do to continue your value unless you start building referral partnerships and start building sponsorships through other companies and kind of snaking it through the entire system, what I call a conveyor belt. So I look to create a company, the nonprofit veteran roadmap, a conveyor belt system. I just wanted a veteran to be able to contact me, no bureaucracy, no BS, right? Nothing stopping the veteran, no qualifications. Did you serve? Let me help you. That's it. That's it. I don't care if you're dishonorable. I don't care if you're honorable. I don't care if you're starting from ground zero. I don't care if you've been out for 30 years. Are you a veteran? We can help. And we just figure out where you're at in that conveyor belt system already. And then we drop you on and we connect the dots for you. And that's what was missing. That's what really made the transition to this nonprofit space super simple for us because we already built the roadmap and we already have tons of partners that help us augment the things that we don't do really well. So all we did was just plug them in. And now we have a seamless system to take a veteran from homeless to retired in less than 5 years, just like I did. And that's the beauty of the whole thing.
So I know we were talking before about this around team, and really your team again is this connections, these partnerships you have with experts who can kind of, as you said, plug those different holes. So how have you been successful at finding those ideal partners and then building those relationships?
It's a it's an act of love. It's a hard process, honestly. I think people don't give enough credit to the art and the science of networking. It's really hard. It's not just, oh, you're with Action Coach. Cool, I'm gonna send people your way. There has to be a relationship that's built. There has to be um, some pushback, right? There has to be like, hey, respectfully, you're an action coach. Why should I trust you? Action coaches are a dime a dozen. Why you? And then it has to be beyond just, oh, well, I'm certified. Oh, well, I have a degree. Oh, I've been doing this for 10 years. There has to be like a purpose. Like, do you like helping veterans? Do you want to help veterans? If I gave you veterans, how would you treat them? It's kind of discovering, just like you're dating someone, you're discovering, hey, I know you're hot, but what's beyond that? Can we have a good conversation? Is there something of value that you're bringing to the table for me? And then if you have the mindset of you're establishing your board of advisors, that's how I took the approach. I just looked at people. I'm like, you're good at coaching. I'm also good at coaching. This is your full-time gig. This is not a full-time gig. So I'm going to ask you questions as a coach that I hope that you understand and you can answer intelligently. And if you can't, I'm moving on to the next person. And then you just continue that process. And that's why it takes years to build a solid network of people. I still have a couple holes. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know everybody. I know a lot of people, but I don't know everybody. And so I'm always looking to network. I'm always looking to meet new people in different industries that can potentially help. And I would say the biggest thing, the biggest piece of advice with networking is always keep your options open. Always keep your options open. A metal fabricator. How in the world does a metal fabricator fit into the veteran roadmap? Think beyond that. Who is the metal fabricator? Who do they know? How passionate are they about helping your target audience? Maybe there's a chance in the future where you have something that needs some metal fabrication. But just because you're not going to utilize them for metal fabrication doesn't mean that they can't be on your board of advisors. Doesn't mean that they don't bring value to the situation and they can help the veteran in other ways. I think that's the biggest thing that people have. They put on roadblockers. You're like, oh, you're a financial advisor? I already got one of those. No, thank you. And it's like, you didn't even hear me. Oh, you're a business coach? Nope, I already got one of those. Okay, but does your business coach do this little thing that I do? Because this is the only little thing that I do, and I think it could add value because I know the space and I know no one does this. Oh, okay, I never knew that. But if you have your blinders up, you never take the opportunity to meet and greet that person and build that relationship. So that's the number one piece of advice I give to people. Take the time and learn the person behind the brand and behind their title.
So you may have hit on this already, but as you look through the journey so far, what's been that single biggest roadblock that you've had to overcome?
The biggest roadblock for me, as weird and maybe cliche as it sounds, the biggest roadblock is just your mental roadblocks, the things that you put in your own head. Uh, my book that I wrote, that's the whole thing I talk about is flushing the BS, flushing the belief system that you have built up around your life. Whether you believe that coaches are just old greedy people that are retired and they just want to continue to make money, if that's your belief system, that is true.
I'm not that old,
And if
Stephen.
you
Sorry.
well, you anyone else that has that stigma of oh well you're with action coach and I've had a bad experience with action coach in the past and therefore it's bad. That's your opinion, and in your world, in your life, that is true. But what's also true is you can strip that belief system tomorrow because there's nothing stopping you from stripping a belief system
Mhm.
except for yourself. So the sooner you identify that you are the issue, you are the crux of everything, and you can remove yourself and get out of your own way and remove those barriers that you've put in your brain, remove the assumption that just because you're meeting a new financial advisor, that all financial advisors do the same thing. As soon as you can remove that, life opens up. And it sounds so cliche, but it really does. And that was when I saw the biggest breakthrough in my business was when I stripped everything and I treated everything as though I'm a newbie. The first time I'm having a conversation with someone, it's the first time I'm having a conversation with anybody. It's the first time I'm ever meeting an action coach person. It's the first time that I'm ever in this moment on May 31st, right? It's the first time of this time that I'm doing this. And when you have that mindset of always be a beginner, life's different. I mean, it just is a completely different experience.
So now as we shift that, that's great. Being able to address, those self-limiting beliefs, right? And it's one thing to talk about it, but then to have, you know, those intentional actions you put in place every day when you're going into that new meeting, you're meeting those new people that you got those things you're triggering yourself with, so you're approaching it with the right perspective. Just key. It's key. So I appreciate you sharing that. Now, as you flip that, you look forward, right? What's the biggest challenge you see out there on the horizon? So if I had a magic powder and I said, hey, Stephen, you could sprinkle this magic powder on one issue or one area, but one area only, and it would make it go away, what would that be?
Ah, That's always the toughest one because in my world, um, it's a battle between AI a little bit, but also it's a battle between growth and getting the right people on board. I think every company can definitely empathize with both of those because AI, whether you like it or not, it's coming for everyone's job. It is. Well, I'm an attorney. It's not coming from my job. It passed the bar with a 180. Good luck with that one, right? I mean, it's coming for everybody. So, one, are you aware of that? And if you are, what are the steps that you're doing to either incorporate it and get ahead of it? Or two, what are you doing to differentiate yourself to where AI is not going to touch you for the next 10 to 15 years? That's step number one. That's the biggest concern of mine because I know for a fact ChatGPT 4.0, that thing can do pretty much everything that I'm doing right now. You need resources? Go to ChatGPT. It's free, it's there. If you know how to utilize it, you will find every resource that I'm going to recommend, basically. And it's going to help you make the connections as well. But what it's not going to do, which differentiates me, is having this one on one counseling session, this human interaction. That is not going to come for probably the next 5 to 10 years. So I know I'm good there for the next 5 to 10 years. So cool. The other part is the growth. And that's bringing on people that are like minded, that truly have a servant's heart of doing anything and everything to help the veteran, understanding that every single penny we make as a nonprofit goes directly back to the veteran. We don't take a salary, we don't do anything from the nonprofit. That's hard. So you really got to find the right people to come on board with you. And then also just helping them, helping the people that you bring on board. I believe it's a moral obligation when you hire someone. That is your child. That's not your employee. That is your child. You are responsible for their success. You're responsible for their failure. You're responsible for everything. And so if you want to maximize, you want to squeeze them for everything that they're worth, what are you feeding them? And if you're not feeding them, if you're not creating that culture, that environment, that where they can actually thrive and not just survive, that's the biggest thing that I see for myself moving forward. That's a big issue. Um, we've got some things in place, right? But only time will tell how strong that is.
So you've come a mighty long ways, in a few years. I think you mentioned to me you've helped over 3,500 veterans already, which is a staggering number given the short time frame. Um, and also you talked about, hey, AI and just kind of your spirit around growth. And you look down the road, what's your vision? Where does Veteran Roadmap go next?
In the book that's released in July 4th, The Calling for a Nonprofit, in that book, I detail our vision for the next couple years. In the last 3 years, well, actually, um, wow, you want to talk about fortuitous timing? June 1st of 2020. That's when we started the first big company of ours, Veteran Roadmap. So that's funny. So here we are on the 4 year anniversary. The biggest, yeah, the biggest thing for that is definitely uh, I want. I've always said I want to do $10 billion in benefits, and I want to do 10,000 veterans. Why? Sounds like a cool number. Not too many people can say they've helped 10,000 veterans, and not too many people can say that they've had an economic impact that can be directly traced dollar for dollar of over $10 billion delivered to the veteran community. Not too many people can say that. And especially not too many people can say that they've done that within 10 years. 10 years, 10,000 vets, $10 billion. That was the goal. That's what the goal remains. And considering the fact that we're only 4 years in and we're a third of the way there, I think we're on the right path.
Yeah, somebody's going to need a bigger goal. Well, no, inspiring though. All kidding aside, though, 10 billion of benefits, 10,000 veterans within that first 10 years. So very inspiring. A lot of other entrepreneurs watching this, some pretty early on in their journey as well. So What advice would you give back to yourself, what you know now, if you were starting over, or you'd give to other, entrepreneurs who are kind of early on in starting their journey?
Keep open mind. That is the only thing that I can say that has 100% stood the test of time. I mean, I could talk about marketing. I could talk about unique selling propositions. I could talk about your ideal persona. I could talk about tons of different things. But the number one thing is just keep an open mind. You never know who you're going to meet. And more importantly, you have no idea who that person knows and the experiences that they bring to the table. Just because I'm talking to Todd and Todd is with Action Coach does not mean that Todd and Action Coach are the only thing that Todd brings. There are so many things behind the scenes that I don't even know about Todd yet that I know can benefit other veterans and that can benefit my own business and other businesses that I work with. But I have to build that relationship. I have to continuously dig in, invest the time and invest the resources to make this relationship work. And over time, I know for a fact it will pay off. That's the biggest piece of advice. Keep an open mind and invest in relationships.
Uh, I can tell you have the spirit of a learner as well. So I'm curious, what is it you read or podcasts you plug into regularly? Where do you go to continue to keep your sword as sharp as it can be?
This is going to sound really, really weird, okay? But hey, this is me. My number one thing is academics. I I am a continuous learner. I've got seven, almost 8 degrees now, and I'm gonna start working on my ninth here soon. As soon as I wrap up my eighth, I'll start on my ninth. It's continuous education, continuous learning. That was actually something that in 2018 that I learned from that entrepreneur was whatever industry you choose, you have to be the biggest, baddest, smartest person in the room. And if you're not the expert. And that like shook me because I'm like, well, I'm an expert. I know what I'm doing. I'm like, no, until you have every degree, until you have every certification, and until you have every license in that field, you're not the expert yet. And that shook me to my core because I'm like, wow, that's one way of looking at it. Because one, you're continuously learning, you're continuously growing, and you've never actually made it until you've done all that. Mm-hmm. Now, once you've done all that, I can say I've done that in 2 fields. That's it. 2 fields. I've been part of dozens of fields. There's only 2 fields that I truly adequately call myself an expert in. And that's great because I have every degree, I have every certification designation under the sun in those 2 fields. But I continuously strive to learn because there's always new certifications. There's always new licenses and designations and even academic programs that come out that you've got to continuously sharpen the saw. And the reason I chose academics and not podcasts and books, yes, I do enjoy those. And yes, I do, dabble in that. But the reason I chose that goes back to my number one life lesson. Keep an open mind and invest in relationships. And the environment that academia provides an option, provides that opportunity to continuously network and meet other professionals that are growing and learning in your skill and learning and growing in your field, whether they're young or whether they're old. There's all types of people in academia. And that's the coolest part. And that's where I really find the value is the network that it provides.
Yeah. What a commitment. Eighth degree, and you already got 9 on the horizon. So as we look to wrap up here already, our time flies. So what are the best way for folks to stay connected with you, to follow you? When you mentioned you got a book coming out again soon. So kind of share those best connection points.
The best connection point, connect with me on LinkedIn. Always, always, always expanding my connections on LinkedIn, even though I'm at 30,000. Definitely looking for more, right? Come on in. But outside that, you can definitely go to my website, stephencrane.com. But you can also email me directly. Very simple email. Ready? Stephen@stephencrane.com. You
Okay.
can't mess it up. Just email me, go to my website. You can book a call there. Whatever it is, feel free to reach out to me. Like I said, I'm an open book and I always, always, always invite opportunities to connect with other people. So even though I'm super busy and may have to schedule a couple weeks out, we will connect and I will invest in that relationship 100%.
I can always tell the super connectors in these discussions because they're the ones that give out their personal email. So thank you for doing that. So as we wrap up, Stephen, what inspires you today?
That is such a great question. What inspires me the most today is the people that I'm working with and the mindset shifts that they're having, not just through working with me, but just through the expanding knowledge that's out there through podcasts and books and interviews like this. People expanding their thought process and learning to strip their belief systems even prior to meeting me. I find that so inspiring that is just a simple conversation like this 30-minute conversation. You're going to blast this out, and there may not be millions of people that watch it, but there's going to be dozens, hundreds, thousands. But there's going to be one person that this really speaks to, and that changes them. That's inspiring that a simple 30-minute conversation like this can literally lay the groundwork for that person becoming the next Elon Musk. That's freaking inspiring. That's cool. And that's why I love doing these things.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Dr. Stephen Crane, thank you for sharing your story, journey of learning, continued learning. And I think anyone watching this knows there's even a lot more to come, just how driven you are and the great service that you and Veteran Roadmap provide. So thank you for sharing your story. Our viewers, grateful to have you join us here today. I encourage you to share this with others who gain from Stephen's message as well. And likewise, continue to like and to go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you'll receive future messages from other inspiring leaders like you're able to hear from Stephen today. So thank you all and I hope you all have a terrific day.